was May 2008, and in Pike Field, part of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, thousands of soldiers and officers were marching through the fields in unison. It was All-American Week Division Review, and the soldiers had been preparing for this moment for weeks. But nothing really prepared them for the heat.
It was uber hot and humid, and it was bright and sunny that day, too. Absolutely clear, and you'd been standing there sweating for hours in this parade.
That's General Xavier T. Brunson, who at the time was the battalion commander of the 1st Battalion 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment. For Brunson, it wasn't the heat causing him problems. It was nerves. He had been waiting for this moment his entire life.
I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina. So as a young boy, I grew up going to the division review every year. And I heard people's names being called out in their hometown. And this is something I remember when there were gamma goats, okay? That old vehicle in the Army. I remember watching gamma goats ride across that field.
Brunson's father was a special operations non-commissioned officer. And some of Brunson's favorite memories as a child were watching his father parachute out of planes and running up to meet him as he landed. It's exactly what he was thinking about as he marched his battalion toward the review stand. Also making the moment a little more special for Brunson was that a lot of his family was there to cheer him on.
My mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, my Uncle Dennis, my Uncle Billy, my Aunt Phyllis, my Uncle Lionel, my mother, my father. And here you have a hometown kid that's getting promoted to, he's a battalion commander now. And when you get to the ready line where you go, eyes right, that's when they start talking about the commander of that formation and the command sergeant major of that formation. And my whole life, I've been waiting for that moment to hear my name called.
And then it happened.
The battalion commander of the 1st Battalion, 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment is Lieutenant Colonel Xavier T. Brunson, a native of Fayetteville, North Carolina.
That's when I said, you know what? I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay in this thing. That's a movie moment right there.
That moment from May of 2008 was an early highlight for now General Xavier T. Brunson. But since then, he's had a number of others that have taken him around the globe. And that experience has led him to his current position as the commander of U.S. Forces Korea, the United Nations Command, and the Combined Forces Command, where he oversees operations for the increasingly important region. In today's episode, our hosts sit down with General Brunson to discuss lessons he's learned in his Army career, the latest developments in the Indo-Pacific region, and how to win an argument when your spouse is a former Army judge. I'm Carrie Varuhaikis, and this is Army Matters.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to your next episode of Army Matters. I'm Lieutenant General Retired Leslie C. Smith, the 66th Inspector General of the United States Army. And I'm here, just like always, with my good buddy, my best friend on the podcast lane.
That's right, Les. It's me, the 15th Sergeant Major of the Army, Sergeant Major of the Army retired, Dan Dailey. Les, I feel like I'm feeling good for this one. Feeling good for this one. You know why?
You feeling good for this one?
Yeah.
Why?
I love our guest today. We won't say who it is yet, but
yeah.
I'm a big fan. Big fan. Anyway, so
what? I get to ask the questions then.
What? You got to give everybody their day once in a while. Once in a while.
Yeah, I know.
The reason why we do that sparingly is because we want you to be excited when you get the chance.
Yeah, I know, Dan. Yeah, I know. All right. Okay, here's the first question.
I've been studying all night.
Ready?
Yep.
You've been studying all night? Okay.
All night long.
I know you served in Korea.
Yes, sir.
A while ago.
Yes, sir.
Is there a moment during your time there that really stands out?
Yes, sir.
And tell everybody what your rank was in.
I was a staff sergeant. It was 1996.
Wow.
So we'd be up there in monsoon season. If you've ever been in Asia in monsoon season, it rains like crazy and it's hot, right? and then the mosquitoes come out. So I'd be up there in my Bradley, and the mosquitoes are amazingly effective at attacking you in huge, huge waves. And I forgot to cover my feet one night. And I had
when you were sleeping?
I was sleeping. Yeah, I forgot to cover my feet. I woke up and both my feet looked like tomatoes. I mean, they had probably been bitten 500 times.
So explain to our listeners about covering your feet. What were you supposed to use? What was there?
I had a mosquito net, right? So you're issued a mosquito net.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I kicked my feet out from under the mosquito net because I was just laying under there because it's so hot, right? It's damp, it's wet, but I'm in the back of the Bradley, and I kicked my feet out from under the mosquito net, and I was a mosquito feast.
Yes. So were you the commander of that Bradley?
I was, sir. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm sure the doc, when they saw you, they were like, "What is going on with your feet there, Sergeant?"
The mosquitoes got so bad that year, they would chase you out of the Bradley. I mean, you would just walk around all night because you couldn't sleep. It got so bad. There's a lot of great stories about Korea. But anyway, you were stationed in Korea too, right?
Yeah, 2 years. So the year after you left, you were there for a year, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the year after you left is when we got there. 97 to 99, I was a major. The funny thing that stands out, there's many of them, but our unit, the 23rd Chemical Battalion, used to be this thing called a cadre battalion, which meant that people only showed up once a year to train on the equipment from the National Guard. Mm-hmm. But our mission was to stand up 5 companies and station them across the Republic of Korea. So can you imagine that? A little old battalion taking training Katusas, Korean augmentees to the U.S. Army, and I think that's in our podcast today, and we trained them in how to do decon. And they were driving 2.5 tons and 5 tons. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Yeah. So that was amazing. So that was probably the most special moment for me about teaching Katusas and then seeing them grow, because these guys are business leaders now in the United States and overseas, because they were cut from a different cloth. So Dan.
Yes, sir.
The reason why we're talking about Korea today is that today's guest is currently serving as the commander, the big dog for the U.S. Forces Korea. And I sat down with him by myself, thank you very much, to chat about his role, his time in Korea, and several other topics. He's one of my heroes, and I've known him for a long time. And I guess I look up to him now, even though he's younger than we are.
Yeah, I'm a big fan too. Why don't we listen to your interview with him? General Xavier Brunson.
General Brunson, welcome to Army Matters, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, sir. I'm looking forward to this opportunity.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun.
As soon as I found out I was going to be on the show, I remembered a story I really want to share with you all. So I was a student in the War College. I had deferred the War College for 3 years at this point in time. So I was pretty set on what it is that I wanted to do professionally. And so we're in this mentoring session, and all my classmates are there. So General Smith, in his inimitable fashion, just walks to the front of the room and he starts pointing at people. What's your plan for your life? What's your plan for your career? Did you think about your family? Who's going to help you get there? And I go, and nobody's saying anything anymore. And I go, well, I'm going to stand up because I'm going to tell them what I want to do. I want to be a one-term senator from the state of North Carolina, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to just tear it up. And then he goes, okay. And he walks away, and I think, I just showed them. Ha ha. He gets 3 steps away from me, and, I'm in this very self-satisfied repose, my legs crossed and my hands are on my knee, and I showed that General Smith. He goes, who's going to help you get there, Brunson? And I go, I can't say anything. And I think to myself, why would this guy come off on me like this? I've known this man for years. This is patently unfair. And but what that told me was don't ever get too comfortable with places where you sit. The lesson he taught me, which was comical to everybody else, because I'm talking smug with a capital SMUG, was me after I gave my answer, because there was such depth and breadth to that answer. And he put me in my place quickly. So that's my story.
Yeah, sometimes you have to do that with the young guns, the young lions, as we call them, because we know they're going places, but he took it in the right attitude, because we do know each other. Some other guy may have passed out or started crying, but he would have been okay. That's good. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So now you're in charge of the U.S. Forces Korea, and you have a pretty good idea of the culture there. So what's your favorite K-pop performer or band?
I'm going to have to go with the standard, because it's the person who I was trying to hire as my Katusa driver is one of the guys from BTS. So I started listening to a lot of BTS music when I first got over there, because I knew that they were all serving their compulsory military service tours. And I thought I would be really popular with my daughters if I got one of these guys to be my driver. I failed miserably, but do own several of their albums. And most recently, I've been watching K-pop Demon Hunters, the sing-along version.
Oh, okay. I got to check that out. So for our listeners, explain what Katusas do, and explain that to our listeners.
Okay, the Katusas are the Korean augmentation to U.S. forces. And what they are is they are soldiers generally who have a great command of the English language, and they come alongside us. And what they really do for us is they help us to understand the culture which we're a part of. And so they're a tremendous help to us, whether they are functioning inside of our staff sections or they're helping us with protocol matters. It's nothing to see in my headquarters alone Ivy League students from Penn or Yale or Harvard who are back home serving their compulsory military service, and they find themselves into the Katusa program. It's highly valued, and it's highly selective. So when you get a Katusa, you are getting someone who's marked themselves as one of the best that's available.
Yeah, that's good. So I think my Katusa, who was my driver in 97, he is a vice president of the company, Samsung, in the U.S. now. I think that's what it is, but I can't keep up with all the stuff he's got going on.
Yeah. And they've got a tremendous alumni association as well.
So let's jump into your background.
Okay.
So, somebody called you the next mayor of Fayetteville.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone loves you there.
Yeah.
Tell us about your time in Fayetteville.
Okay.
And what makes it so special for you?
Yeah. So in my family, my mom's family's from Fayetteville, North Carolina, in a place we call Cross the River, on the other side of the Cape Fear River out in the country. And Fort Bragg has always been the center of gravity for my family. I remember watching my father jump out of airplanes on Sicily Drop Zone. I remember always wanting to run out and meet him and trying to get back in. He would always put his helmet on my head and let me walk back in with him from the drop zone. As a captain, I served at Fort Bragg the first time. My wife and I both served together there. And then years later, as a young major, I came back to Fort Bragg again to serve within United States Army Special Operations Command. At the same time, both my brothers were in United States Army Special Operations Command. But it's always been home. It's always been comfortable to me. North Carolina, there used to be a commercial that would come on TV that would say, "I like calling North Carolina home." That's what it was for me. That was home.
Yeah. So you've always said that you wanted to be a soldier.
Yeah.
Was there a specific moment as a child or a teenager that you can remember where that came to realization, other than walking off the drop zone with your dad?
Yeah, I would tell you that, again, it involves my father. But I can remember, and anybody who knows Fayetteville knows about the Bonnie Doon area. It's not the best place in town. But I can remember my dad driving there one night because one of his soldiers was in crisis. And I can remember watching Sergeant Bilbo hug my dad because my dad came to take care of him. And that, for me, I might have been about 10 years old at the time. that crystallized for me that I always wanted to be in a position where if soldiers needed me, then I was going to be there for them. And I wanted to do the same things my dad did. And, you know, in my own service, I can remember Sergeant Silva. I can remember telling him, hey, I'm gonna probably get out of the Army. I was a young captain. I was a company commander. And I said, I'm going to get out of the Army. And he said to me, hey, sir, if you get out of the Army, who's going to take care of me? And I took that, and it didn't mean anything to me that night on the drop zone because it was raining. But I got home and I told my dad, 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 I'm gonna probably get out of this. And this soldier, he said, hey, who's going to take care of me? And I'm like, there's a whole bunch of people behind me. And my dad said, well, what was your answer? And I said, I didn't have an answer for him, Daddy. And he said, well, then I guess you can't get out of the Army yet till you have an answer. And I never looked back after that. So.
That's good. That's good. So while you were at Hampton, let's move forward a little bit. Tell me again. So you lettered in football.
I did.
What position did you play, and what was your greatest moment on the field?
Wow. So I was a flanker. I was the slot receiver when I was in college. And my greatest moment was also quite possibly, if things were the way they are now, it would have also been a fail video. Okay. It would have been one of those fails. We were playing St. Paul's College at the time, and all my relatives were there in the stadium. And I can remember running a 5 route, a post corner, right? And I get open and I'm wide open, and I put my hand up and I'm ready to catch this pass. Well, as soon as I catch the pass, see, at St. Paul's, at the end of the end zone, it drops off to a hill. So I catch the ball and I'm running down the field with the ball in my hand, and I go through the end zone, and then I proceed to roll through the back of the end zone and roll down this hill. And I remember seeing that in film session, but that's the only place it was recorded, was in our film session. But if you bring that forward to 2025, if that had been a thing, I'd be on wide loop in a viral video of somebody watching a guy score a touchdown and then trip and roll down the back of the end zone.
Yeah, but you scored the touchdown, right?
I did score the touchdown.
Did you win the game?
We won the game. We destroyed St. Paul's. It was like 63 to nothing.
Yeah, that's like playing against your little brother, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. And so on our show, we always talk about mistakes and the importance for learning from them. What is the biggest mistake that you made in your career, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I tell the story quite often when I talk to people, because of how much it absolutely meant to me. I was a company commander at Fort Bragg. My brigade commander at the time was Secretary General Retired Lloyd Austin.
Oh boy!
And I was the main effort company. I was going to jump into Sicily drop zone, and then we were going to get on helicopters, fly 12 miles up the road to Holland drop zone, and we were going to secure an objective there. And of all those companies in that brigade, it was me. I was the guy. Well, I had a young soldier who retired as a master sergeant. Gamichu, if you're out there, this is about you too. We had said, hey, nobody jumps their nods in their butt packs. Put your nods around your neck, tie them off in the top buttonhole, make sure you're squared away. Well, Gamichu put his nods in his butt pack. He probably at the time weighed about 115 pounds. The wind took Gamichu and put him in a tree. So he's hanging there in a tree. He lowers his reserve. He climbs down. He's on the ground now, but his nods, I don't have 100% accountability. And I bring the Humvee over there, and I tie a pine cone with a piece of 550 cord. We throw it up there, and we get it around his parachute, and I tie it off to the Humvee, and I say, back up. And out of the darkness, I hear General Austin calls to me, and he says, are you doing the right thing right now? And I said, well, yeah, because I got to get this thing out of the tree. He goes, what are you supposed to do when something's caught in a tree? Well, I'm supposed to call the DZSO, but I got to get moving right now because those are my helicopters on the drop zone over there. And he said, well, those helicopters aren't for you. He says, are you in comms with your XO? And I said, I am. He said, tell your XO he's got the mission. And now I'm crying, right?
You were crying in front of the...
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because I thought I was getting relieved. He said, tell your XO he's in charge now. So I'm crying because now I'm thinking I'm about to be relieved on the spot here. And the last thing he said to me was, you should always want to be caught doing the right thing. And it made no sense to me in the moment because remember, I'm crying now because I think I'm done. And I have endeavored since that day to always be caught doing the right thing. And I've tried to live my military, professional, and even my personal life that way. I want you to catch me doing the right thing always.
So, General Brunson, since we're talking about lessons, I always like to ask our guests this question. What would you tell your 17-year-old self if you could today?
Simply this. Self, start out every day looking in the mirror. That's the one time that you're going to assess what you did yesterday and prepare yourself to go forward for the days to come. And once you get done with that assessment or recrimination or wallowing in failure or even celebrating a victory, move on to the next thing because you got to get to the window. Because in the window, what you see is somebody else who needs you. People are always going to count on you. That's Sergeant Silva, right? And then the final thing I would say, sir, would be find something to govern your behavior. For me, it's the gospel, okay? But for you, it might be your service. It might be your oath. It might be your branch of the service. Whatever that is, that's got to keep you on that path to where you're always caught doing the right thing. And if you can do that, self, you're going to find yourself happier than you ever thought you could be.
Hey, did you get your AUSA merch yet? Check out our online selection at shop.ausa.org.
Welcome back, everyone, to Army Matters. Now, let's talk about your role as the commander of U.S. Forces Korea, which you've been in that position for about a year now. What's one of the biggest things that's changed since you've been there, and what surprised you?
I will tell you, a seminal event was the declaration of martial law in Korea on the 3rd of December. And remember, I took command on the 20th of December. And when that happened, that shook the earth. From then to now, I've had the great honor and pleasure of working alongside 5 presidents of the Republic of Korea, 4 acting, and then the current president. That changes things significantly. The involvement of North Korea with Russia in Ukraine, that's seminal, in that nothing like that's happened before. And you start to think about the fact that now here's a nation that had been largely insular is conducting strategic movements. The interplay between Russia and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, that's changed things. The technologies that they're bringing to bear now, that's changed things in the command. One of the things that surprises me about my role currently is the fact that it's important that I have positions on things that might not be considered military. The economy of the country that I serve in is important. The information environment in that country is important for me. I'm not just talking to you. This podcast will get out, and I'm messaging the Korean people as well. And I might as well say, I love you all in Korea.
Kapsi
Kapsi kapsida is important.
Yeah.
That means something, you know?
We go together.
That's right.
Yes.
So I think that's all I would mention on that.
Okay. Can you tell us about the East Up map that you've created and what it highlights? And I've seen you talk about this before, but describe it to our listeners. There's not going to be a video, so you got to talk us through it.
Okay. So if you were to imagine a normal ordinal map, we generally look at maps north to south. What I've done is I've rotated the map of Northeast Asia, where east, 90 degrees, a 90-degree rotation. If you take a map and you think about it, I've rotated that map 90 degrees, where in the map north now you have Japan, and it places Korea in the proper context. It places it in the center. And the reason why I did that is because I'm looking at this salient that exists from Russia to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea to China, and it places them in positions where Korea can actually impact and affect. The triangle from Tokyo to Seoul to Manila, that triangle, 47 to 52% of global trade comes through that triangle. And it makes us think differently about posture. It makes us think differently about positional advantage. It makes us think differently about the imposition of cost on Russia, China, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And so that's what I was trying to show, is the centrality of Korea by virtue of the positional advantage that we enjoy by being on the Asian continent. We are the only U.S. forces on the continent of Asia.
I never thought about it that way, but that's definitely accurate. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So as someone who's overseeing this very important command, what keeps you up at night these days, if anything? Because I know you know how to sleep.
Oh yeah,
and I see you have your ring on you too. So yeah,
I'm going to get that in. But
okay.
One of the things that I think about is sort of the spiraling of technologies. For many, many years, anybody who's ever seen an AFN commercial has seen military technologies that have civilian applications. Now where we're at is civilian technologies that have military applications. So it's almost working in reverse from the paradigm that we're used to seeing. And I think that we've got to be more prescient in that regard. It doesn't keep me up at night, sir. What it forces me to do is to apply myself to thought. We generally in the military think to solve the problem of the day, where we need to find ourselves more often. And that's what I do before I fall asleep, is to think about what might be in the future and what might I need to address. And in my case, to protect the homelands with an S, the United States of America and the Republic of Korea.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. So finally, let's talk about family rivalries as we get ready to come to close. So you've one of three brothers, and all of you have served. So how competitive are you three?
We are insanely competitive. But what you have to understand about the Brunson brothers is, from my perspective, I have to get one of the twins on my side. If the twins ever gang up on me, it's just a long day. I would be most likely to leave the room if they both start ganging up on me.
Right. So is your other brother still serving, or is out active duty?
We're all on active duty right now.
Nice. I think we might have to have a follow-up podcast with the three of you guys together. That should be a lot of fun. That's probably pretty good. So finally, your wife Kirsten. Now, she was in the Army herself as 24 years as an Army JAG and then a judge. How did you guys meet, and how hard was it to both of you guys to serve together?
Yeah, I will tell you that we met because my company commander at the time, his wife was in the JAG Corps. And when Kirsten got to Germany, some lawyers that were there said, hey, we've got somebody that Xavier should really meet. And so they set up basically a blind date. And I went there, and, the first time I met my wife, she pulled me into the judge's chambers. She was not a judge. And she sat up high on the dais, and I sat down at a little table. And I remember her looking down at me, talking to me. And I thought, I don't think this is what I want to do. And she goes, well, hey, how about, the only thing to do here in Vilflicken is go to the movies. How about we go to the movies?
Vilflicken. She was in Vilflicken?
She was in Vilflicken.
Yeah, that was my duty station. Yeah. Okay.
And I said, I don't want to go to the movies tonight. I don't want to go. Well, I happened to show up with my platoon. And she goes, Lieutenant Brunson, I thought you said you didn't want to go to the movies. And I said, well, no, I hadn't planned on going, but my platoon said, come. And we watched this Rutger Hauer movie, and I ended up sitting with her in the movie. And we talked the entire movie. And I was smitten from then forward. I just wanted to spend time with her. And
nice.
We got married while I was an aide to the one star that was in Baumholder, Germany, and been together ever since.
Nice. Have you ever won an argument with
Oh,
her?
never. No. Hey, listen, I get an allowance. I've been getting an allowance since I was a captain.
Yeah. Nice. So, General Brunson, thanks again for coming on our show, Army Matters, and for what you're doing for our country and our region. It really means a lot to us. We're so proud of your continued service to the nation.
Thank y'all so much for the opportunity.
To all our listeners, thanks for joining us. AUSA's Army Matters podcast is brought to you by the Association of the United States Army, the U.S. Army's professional association, member-supported, Army-connected. Visit us at ausa.org for more information or to become a member. Your membership helps AUSA continue to carry out its mission, educate, inform, and connect with the total Army, our industry partners, and supporters of a strong national defense. Today's episode was hosted by Lieutenant General Retired Les Smith and SMA Retired Dan Dailey, and anchor hosted by Carrie Viral-Hackes. Anthony Del Call is the producer and writer, and Andy Bosnack is the associate producer and supervising sound editor. Ellen Toner is the content editor. Unzinga Curry is the executive producer, and the senior producers are Carrie Viral-Hackes and LaSharon Duncan. Be sure to subscribe to the Army Matters podcast wherever you find your podcasts, and please leave a review. As you know, we love seeing stars in the Army, especially if it comes in the form of a 5-star review. AUSA's Army Matters podcast can also be heard on Wreaths Across America Radio on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on the iHeart Radio app, the Audacy app, and the TuneIn app with the search of the word Wreath. For questions or to provide topic recommendations, email us at podcast@ausa.org. AUSA's Army Matters podcast primary purpose is to entertain. The podcast does not constitute advice or services. While guests are invited to listen, listeners, please note that you are not being provided professional advice from the podcast or the guest. The views and opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect the views of AUSA. I'm LaSharon Duncan, hoping you have a great Army day. Hooah!